Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Apple Guide Talks podcast, where we cover a wide range of tech and simplify it for the average consumer. I'm your host, Ralph Shepard, with my co-host, Eli Piper.
What's up?
That's not what I was looking for, but it'll work. Join us today as we discuss Linus from Linus Tech Tips, getting a Mac Mini. That's an old story, but still has a lot to it. We move on to the iPhone 12 and question, how strong are the magnets? And then lastly, we ask the question, are theaters dead? And then stay tuned till the end for a sneak peek into this week's Apple Guide post. So, let's hop into the big stuff. The stuff from a couple weeks ago. Whether it matters anymore is a different story, but
It's still fun.
So Linus from LTT, or Linus Tech Tips, got a Mac Mini. He posted this on his Twitter page. So if you're not familiar with this, just to catch you up, back in June, I think it was, at Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference, Apple announced that they were going to switch their Macs over to making their own silicon or start using their own processors in their Macs. So think the processors like the brain of the computer. So in Apple's lineup, their Macs is their last product that doesn't use their own in-house processor. You look at their iPhones, their iPads, even their AirPods, and some of their Beats, they all use some form of Apple silicon. So now those in-house chips are coming to the Mac. They're slated for a release sometime in November. But to prepare developers who are going to be writing apps for these new machines, Apple sent out a developer's transition kit. So these Mac Minis that they shipped out are powered by the same chip that's in the 2020 iPad Pro. That would be the A12 Bionic chip.
That's the one that's going to run iOS apps on Mac, right?
Yeah. So that's one of the benefits of having the same processor that's in your iPhone, in your Mac, is now it's easier for developers to bring their iOS apps to the Mac. That's one thing that's, I think, been lacking a lot, especially in the Mac App Store.
For sure.
So we'll see what happens with that. So the story with this is, so an NDA was released for people who got these Mac Minis, saying, you can't benchmark it or you can't do any testing. It's strictly given to developers who pay $500 some for it, strictly for testing their applications, not testing the system. And apparently Apple's been very strict on this because they reached out to Linus after he tweeted a picture. So
I love. We gotta read Linus's tweets because his tweets are hilarious on this.
Oh yeah.
He goes, so there's a picture of the Mac Mini, and he goes, developers not included. And then he goes, for those wondering, we cannot break an NDA that we didn't sign. So a developer sent Linus this Mac Mini. So he said, expect benchmarks, teardowns, etc. And then he goes, you'll never guess who finally reached out after all those years of pretending we don't exist. If you don't see any follow-ups, they either sent the lawyers or the death squad.
It's funny because Apple never sends them anything.
No, it's like Linus Tech Tips doesn't exist to them because they're a very pro-Windows organization.
Well, not only that, they tend to really
hate on the Mac
into products where Apple's probably not in favor of that.
Yes,
necessarily, but so that whole thing happened, which is to be expected. But I think the real statement and what you'll see a lot is these Mac Minis that are shipping. I don't think that they're really a statement of what to expect in the coming weeks when something concrete is announced. Because they probably just threw this iPad chip in there just to get developers up and rolling. So when they actually come out with the big guns in a couple of weeks, it's a whole new product line. Now, whether they just take those iPad chips and tweak them a little bit, rename them, give them their own product line in themselves for the desktop where you have more battery life, You want more power, and if things get too hot, you can put a fan on them to cool them down, unlike the iPad and the iPhone where you want to try to keep everything passively
They're going
cool.
to be able to get more power out of
Mhm.
the chip. So people have actually been benchmarking these chips and leaking them out. This is on Ars Technica. So the Apple Silicon-based developers kits average an 811 for single-threaded Geekbench and a 2781 for multi-threaded, 20% slower than the entry-level i3 powered MacBook Air's results, but it's 38% faster than its multi-threaded results. So higher-end Macs are producing higher numbers, but that's still pretty impressive, especially considering that these aren't running natively in ARM mode. So these will provides an indication on how legacy apps are going to run on these Macs.
So that's another thing to bring up is Geekbench, the testing application used in this case, hasn't been upgraded to or updated to support Apple's new upcoming computers. So Apple has two technologies to make sure that old apps are still supported and new apps are still supported on old machines. So Rosetta 2 is going to be used to bring your old Intel-based applications over to the new Apple Silicon-based computers, while Universal 2 will allow applications to work on both Apple Silicon and Intel. But one thing to keep in mind during this transition period over what Apple says the next 2 years, which is possible with them, something to keep in mind is that Rosetta and Universal are temporary transition softwares that work in the background, but they're still temporary. Just like all of Apple's transitions in the past, from PowerPC to Intel and dropping support for 32-bit applications and then later for kernel extensions. Those older apps, if they don't update to support the latest Macs and the latest versions of macOS, they will eventually stop working. So if you have any apps that haven't been supported in a couple years or the developers have dropped out, it may be time to start looking into an alternative because you never know how long you're going to be able to use that app, and you don't want to be left in the dust one day and realize you have to upgrade your Mac and suddenly all your apps on your old computer are no longer supported.
That wouldn't be good. Although a lot of the big developers will make sure that their apps are supported. So I think the people that are going to be negatively affected by this is going to be very few. There's going to be very few people using very niche apps out there.
Mm-hmm. So, like, you already have Microsoft who have committed themselves to updating their apps, of course.
Adobe, I'm sure, is going to update their apps. You're going to see all the major players are going to update their apps. Even some of the minor players, the ones that I think are going to have trouble, the smaller app developers, apps that were maybe produced a few years ago and now the company's been dissolved. Those are the ones that I think you're going to have issues with. So, yeah.
So, if you have any more questions or anything like that about Apple Silicon, I have written a post on this already. Let me see the title. The title is What is Apple Silicon? An Elementary Guide to Apple Silicon. So in that I go deep into depth of what to expect, what you need to do to prepare, and the pros and the cons of switching, and just really detailing it in an elementary way and not so advanced. But yeah, so that's that. Be prepared. Apple Silicon is coming in the coming weeks.
It's exciting stuff.
Oh, it's very exciting.
It's so exciting.
I guess we could slide this into our next topic about the iPhone 12.
MagSafe.
Look at the iPhone 12 now. The iPhone 12 can shoot 4K, 60 FPS, encoded in 10-bit Dolby Vision HDR. Now that may sound like a bunch of marketing mumbo jumbo, and for most people,
for the most part, it is.
They don't need any of that. Most people don't even have a TV that can play that back. My 2017 spec'd out MacBook Pro can barely play that video back.
4K I don't even think is enabled by default on the phones anyways, so.
Well, it'd probably take up too much space.
It takes up a lot of, it tells you actually in settings how much it'll take up.
Oh, good. That's a benefit because
if I remember correctly, it tells you how much it'll take up. I'll bring
yeah.
that up here.
But that's definitely that Dolby Vision 4K is definitely a pro feature. Most people may or may not notice a difference.
Yeah, so it
Especially
says
one thing I will keep in mind though, just to throw out this really quickly, going back to the 4K HDR stuff, your iPhone may be the only device that can even play that back
yeah.
because it's high quality
Dolby
OLED
Vision is
display.
proprietary too, I think, to certain things. So
Yeah.
it says so for the iPhone 11 Pro, it's 135 megabytes for 1 minute of video with 4K at 24 FPS, 170 megabytes per minute, 4K at 30 FPS, and 400 megabytes per minute, 4K at 60 FPS. So I would imagine throwing Dolby Vision in there is only going to make those numbers higher.
Yeah. And for most people, they don't need it.
Exactly.
I would say the majority of people wouldn't tell the difference between, I mean, currently, right now, since you don't have any other device to play it off of, I would say you won't notice a difference shooting 1080p for now. And in the future, down the line, consider playing with 4K and see what happens.
The screen is relatively small too. 4K looks, in my opinion, the best on a giant TV blown up where you can see everything in big detail, not on a small little phone screen. Even the 12 Pro Max screen, I think, is going to be too small to really grasp the magnificence of 4K.
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt, 4K does not belong on mobile
No,
smartphone devices.
not at
The
all.
screen is just way too small to really pick out the pixels.
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense. But the next big feature, ignoring the cameras, which are cool, but they're only a little spec bump every year, so it's not that big of a deal. 4K
It's not that
is
big of a
nothing
deal.
new.
No.
But what is new is MagSafe. Apple is returning to the MagSafe name, and this time, instead of in the MacBooks, it's in the iPhones.
Yeah, and there's been some issues with it.
Oh yeah.
Some things that I think Apple, in my opinion, I think they hyped it up and everyone said, wow, this is a great thing, but I think they under-delivered on it in a few things. We'll go first with the strength of the magnet. When I saw it, I don't know about you, Ralph, but when I saw it, I was hoping the magnet would be super strong. Like you see those car mounts where you stick the magnet on the back of your phone, you can magnetize, and those things are pretty strong. It takes a lot of effort to pull them off.
Yeah.
I would hoping it would be that strong, but looking at videos, getting some mixed reviews here. MKBHD for one, he just flicked the charger a little bit and it fell right off. So you had him and the wallet. He put the wallet in his pocket and the wallet just came right off. But you had some other people, Jonathan Morris and Austin Evans.
Put it on a steel plate and waved the steel plate around in the iPhone, or waved it upside down, and it still just stuck on.
Exactly. And Austin Evans, who was dangling it from the MagSafe charger. So it's, how strong is this magnet here? And I think for it to be really useful, it needs to be strong. I'd love to be able to just throw my phone on a magnet mount in my car and not have to worry about anything. But based on these reviews, these early reviews, it looks like that's not going to be possible. It looks like you're going to hit a bump and it's going to go flying off. Now, can that be fixed by car phone mount makers increasing the strength of their magnets? I don't know. I'm not a magnet scientist, but I think that remains to be seen.
That is a question, because think for the little $40 that you have to pay extra for MagSafe puck charger.
Exactly.
How strong really do you need those magnets?
Yeah.
So do they put less stronger? That's probably the wrong way to put that, but the least stronger magnets in something like their MagSafe puck, and then they put stronger magnets in something like their car adapter, even something that I've been excited and constantly looking for since the announcement is a tripod mount. Because that's one thing, if I get one of these 12s, that snap it on and it just hits in place perfectly. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Especially if you can get one that can charge too. So imagine you have your phone on a tripod, you plug the charger into the tripod, then you can rotate your phone a full 360 degrees and not have to worry about getting tangled up with wires or anything, because the wires are going to be in the tripod. That'd be really great.
Not to mention, if you're recording 4K HDR 10-bit Dolby Vision, that's going to drink the battery.
You're going to need that.
That would be a huge thing in convenience.
Tripod, even gimbals. Maybe they're going to come out with some gimbals that have batteries in them that you just, when the phone's in the gimbal, it's charging off the battery that's also in the gimbal as like a mobile battery pack or whatever.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what third-party people do with this phone, do with the MagSafe attachment. And a good example of this, I don't know if you saw this, Eli, is Peak Design. They're a phone case manufacturer. So they have a new case coming out. It apparently works with their there it is.
This one right here?
Yeah, that's it. So they're doing a Kickstarter program for this because that's how they fund new products and new designs. So this is either a case or you could get it to a tape it onto your back of your phone or whatever. And it has stuff like a locking mechanism and it's its own adapter in addition to working with Apple's MagSafe.
See, this is really cool. And this looks like, and we'll link this. This
here, scroll up again. Scroll up again.
This is what I was hoping MagSafe would be.
Scroll down some, go to the bike mount. There you go. See, and you were worried about the strength of MagSafe on its own, but see, here you have a developer working through a case using MagSafe through a case and with a built-in locking mechanism like that.
And this is
I think that has huge potential.
I think so too, and I think this is what I wished MagSafe would be to begin with. This has a magnet embedded in the case, and I think this is kind of the hope that I had for MagSafe that Apple, I think, kind of under-delivered on. It looks like it also has a snapping thing where it kind of snaps in, or it can snap in for hard locking.
Yeah, so you have different locking mechanisms and
so it can either snap into the case for a more secure thing if you're doing something extreme. Probably like biking, you'd want it to snap in because you're going to go over bumps. You don't want your phone to fall off while you're biking. Maybe in the car, depending on how strong the magnet is, you can just use the magnet and it might be fine.
Yeah.
Depending on how harsh your car suspension is.
And I think one other thing this thing has is even attachments to use, like if you have a GoPro, which all use like standard mounts, I believe that they have a GoPro attachment, so you can use your GoPro accessories.
So this is
with this case.
So this is almost what it's like. It's like GoPro's ecosystem. GoPro has their ecosystem of mounts, and that's almost what this is like, except for the iPhone. It's like GoPro's system of mounts.
Yeah.
And I think this is what I was hoping MagSafe would be, like something super secure, something you can attach your phone to and not worry about it going anywhere.
But I think that there's nothing different between this and MagSafe. The only small difference is that locking mechanism. And the question is, how does Apple, the company who makes completely flat and wants to remove every port and eventually just remove the iPhone in general,
they'll never put a locking mechanism.
How do they integrate a locking mechanism into the back of an iPhone like that?
I don't think they ever will, but I think one step along the way to do that would be to strengthen the magnet. I think you can put a stronger magnet. Along those lines, I don't know if they can do that with the issues they've been having with their MagSafe cases, which we'll get into right now. So Apple, in a warning to everyone, at the bottom of their how to use their MagSafe document on their website, they have 3 little bullet points right here. The first bullet point says, do not place credit card, security badges, passports, or key fobs between your iPhone and MagSafe charger because this might damage magnetic strips or RFID chips within those. If you have a case that holds any of these sensitive items, remove them before charging or make sure that they aren't between the back of your device and the charger. I don't know if you can spot the issue here, Ralph, but I spot it immediately.
Yeah. So that's a huge red flag.
It's a huge issue when Apple creates a magnetic wallet to be able to attach onto the back of the MagSafe phone. That's
but at the same time, I see this as, hey, this is a warning. If you put your credit card too close to your phone, it may wipe the numbers off of it and everything. Or you can just use Apple Pay and
That's
your credit
true.
card is integrated in your phone and MagSafe can erase that.
True, but Apple Pay Apple Pay does not have the same capabilities of a to use hotel ID cards and stuff, you know?
Not yet, at least. I see that coming in the future,
Oh,
but
that would be really cool if you could have like you got a security card for your office building or for your hotel and
yeah.
you can upload it straight to your phone. I would
Well, I
love
know
that.
Marriott's doing that.
Is
I've done that
Marriott
a
doing
couple
that?
times with Marriott.
I've
Yeah,
been
you load up
waiting
the
for them
card
to
on
do
your
that
phone, you
forever.
tap your phone on the doorknob, and you're in.
I've been waiting for a universal way to do that where you could just take any RFID thing, if key fob to go into an apartment building and you could put that on your phone. But I don't know how they would do that securely. They got to make sure you're the actual owner of that key fob before you.
Well, NEF.
Yeah.
NEF and an
And
app.
yeah, true. Yeah. So I
Just
mean,
like Apple Pay, just
yeah,
integrated on every door you walk past.
yeah. I know that's true. Um, that would be really cool. I've been waiting for Apple or phone manufacturers to do that forever. But
Hmm.
anyway, so Apple has a phone wallet that they're saying you can't put your credit cards in because it might wipe them. So
I believe
interesting
that
things there.
those are REFID shielding or whatever that is.
They might be. I'm gonna look at that right now.
To
They might be
protect against that. And,
RFID.
and one of the things that message did say is, there it is, it's leather,
I don't like how their clear cases have that circle and the
that
line.
outline of the
Yeah, I
magnet.
don't like that. I mean, I know there's no way to get around it, but I think that's kind of ruined clear cases for me. I don't know. Maybe they could color match them to the phone. That would be nice. So here's the leather wallet, $60. In my opinion, so overpriced.
Or $5 a month. You can
Just
finance
finance a
everything.
wallet. I don't know if that's financially sound decision, but you can finance your wallet if you would like.
Yeah, you can finance your
12
leather
months.
wallet case for $5 a month over the course of 12 months if you're
Yeah,
into that.
you'll be underwater on it in the first payment. You'll already be underwater on your payments. I'm not seeing anything here that says it's RFID blocking. So I don't know. I don't think it is. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything that says RFID shielding.
I can't imagine.
I'm not seeing it. I don't think it is. I don't think it's RFID blocking. And even if it was, it still wouldn't stop the magnet from going through. It just blocks RFID signals. It doesn't block the magnet. It's only blocking the RFID signals from going through. The magnet would still be able to go through and wipe your card. Because my wallet is RFID blocking.
Yeah.
And I've had multiple times at hotels, I've had credit cards wiped. Not credit cards. I've had room keys wiped because my wallet has a magnet in it for the money clip. It's a pretty strong magnet. And I've had multiple times where I've had to go to the front desk and ask for a new room key because it's been wiped from my wallet. So I know that it can still, just because your wallet's RFID blocking, it can still wipe it with a magnet.
This is from a Mashable article. According to Apple's site, the leather wallet is shielded, so it's safe for credit cards. Okay.
Do not place between, yeah. So I guess the Apple Wallet is safe, but don't place your phone in the same pocket as your regular wallet because then it might wipe your credit cards and stuff. I think that's the consensus on that one.
Yeah. Someone's going to end up making that mistake.
Oh, yeah, so many people. So another second bullet point down says, as with other wireless chargers, your MagSafe charger might get slightly warmer while your phone charges. To extend the lifespan of your battery, if the battery gets too warm, software might limit charging above 80%. No, that's normal with wireless chargers.
That's nothing new.
All wireless chargers generate heat. My wireless charger generates heat. I have an 11 Pro. It's no big deal. It's the same thing when you plug it. I would say it generates as much heat, if not maybe a slightly bit more, than if you just plug it into a lightning charger, one of the fast chargers.
Yeah, using one of the fast chargers.
It's not noticeable at all. It's kind of negligible. What is interesting, though, however, is that leather cases are getting circular imprints, and the silicone cases, too, are also getting circular imprints into them just a few days after use with MagSafe. So people are wondering, what is that going to do to the glass backs of the iPhone 12 models over time? And you can see the silicone marks are in the shape of the MagSafe, so you get the circle, and it's almost as if the case is dirty, but it's not. It's like a little slight imprint in there, and you can see the circle. So that's not really good. You kind of wonder what's going on there. You know, is it the heat forming the leather and the silicone? Is it the magnet getting pulled through the case? What's going on there, and how can Apple fix that? Because honestly, you're going to spend all that money on a case, and a few days later, you're going to have a ugly looking ring on it. That's
Because the
no
case
way to do
itself
it.
is what, $50?
Yeah, I think it's 50 or 60 bucks, probably even more.
And again, how often do you see someone walking around with an iPhone case from Apple?
I've never seen it. I've very rarely seen it. That's the ultimate flex, is when you get Apple's iPhone case. There's so many better. Do yourself a favor. There's so many better leather cases out there for. If you want to get a leather case, spend the same amount of money, and you can get one 10 times better than Apple's, guaranteed.
Yeah, or you can wait till I think it's like what, May till that Peak Design case comes out.
Yeah. Get
So
that one. That's probably
yeah,
the one that I would get.
yeah,
Oh
gives you a
yeah.
lot of options.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
Anything else about the iPhone 12? MagSafe is interesting. Um,
MagSafe.
I
Interesting.
think it's too early to say for sure or not whether the magnets are good or bad. Developers, I think we need to wait judgment until developers have their chance
Yes.
to give it some sort of power other than just wirelessly charging your phone.
I think
Uh,
so too. And I think 100% it is a huge advantage with the wireless charging that you can place your phone down and it snaps into place, because I've had issues. I placed my phone down once, thought it was charging, woke up the next morning, it was completely dead.
yeah,
So now I always make sure I feel the vibration or I see it charged, and I know exactly where to place it. But MagSafe would be cool, just throw it down there, have it snap into place.
yeah, and you know it's charging at what, 15 watts
20 watts.
compared to the 20. No, 20-watt charger, but I think it's only 15.
Might be only 15 watts, but you can do 20. It charges really fast. The
It
fast.
it it charges faster than if you were to use just a traditional wireless charger.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Um,
So
but
it's
I think
definitely good.
MagSafe, if MagSafe long term, right now, of course, we're going to see our issues with it.
Yeah.
Um, but I think long term, I think that this is app because we've seen rumors for years that Apple's going to go to a portless phone. Because I mean, think when Eli, when was the last time you plugged in your iPhone other than to charge it?
Um. Yeah. Not often. No.
It
I don't plug it in much.
unless you for
Everything's
some reason,
wireless.
yeah, everything's wireless. Unless you still have wired headphones, okay, you
I
you,
use
you can
wired
slide on
headphones.
that.
Yeah. But
But
plugging it into my computer, I've never plugged it into iTunes. The only time I plugged it
yeah,
into iTunes was when I was updating to a beta and I wanted to make sure I had a physical backup
mhm.
on iTunes. But that's not something the average person is going to do.
No, and everything's saved in the cloud. You can
Exactly.
update or
Yeah.
you can back up your phone to the cloud. What do you need
Exactly.
to plug
We
your
need
phone into a computer for?
exactly.
Um,
So
so
we'll see.
portless iPhone,
We'll see.
MagSafe only. Is that where we're going?
We'll see. I think Apple needs to improve MagSafe a lot
Mhm.
if they want to go
Um,
completely portless. I think that magnet needs to improve. I
I
think you know fix their case
yeah,
issues. I think
yeah.
there's a lot of kinks to still work out.
hmm there's a
I
lot of
don't know
things to figure out. What is MagSafe going to do other than wirelessly charge your phone?
exactly. I don't know if
Is
the
it going
iPhone
to have the a feature that will take it to the next level?
hmm. And I don't know if the iPhone 13 will be portless. I want to say maybe definitely the iPhone 14 will be portless,
Yeah, yeah.
but we'll see.
This is obviously Apple moving in that direction. Um,
100%. They're kind of
but
testing the waters, I think.
but just so iPhone 12 is out, kind of. You have to wait a little bit longer for the smaller iPhone 12 mini and for the massive iPhone 12 Pro Max. But that brings us to 7 iPhones for sale from Apple. You remember the day? I was thinking about this today. I was writing a post today. Do you remember the days when an iPhone would come out and your only option for upgrading was the iPhone?
Oh
If
yeah.
you wanted an iPhone, you got the iPhone.
Oh yeah. That was it. You
Now
just
it's
had
like,
the iPhone. Now you have all these different options. You can get the 12. Am I gonna get the 12 Pro? Am I gonna get the 12 Pro Max? Am I gonna get the 12 Mini? You got 4 different phones to choose from, and
and
that's just within the iPhone 12. You also have, I think they're still selling the 11
mhm,
too, and I don't know what other ones they're selling.
they have the 11, the 10R, the SE, and if you
So
their
many
price range
options.
starts from 399 all the way to over 1,000. They literally have an iPhone now for every price point, and
Yeah,
they're
they have
all
the 11, 12.
fantastic options.
Yeah.
I mean, you really can't go wrong with picking up any of
I
these.
mean, the SE is great. I recommended the SE to someone the other day. He was like, "Look, I have an Android phone. It's failing me. We're looking at getting iPhones, but we literally just need calling and texting." And I was like,
Hmm.
"Get the iPhone SE.
That's what the
That,
iPhone
that
SE is.
it's got
It,
everything you need." And he ended up getting a Note 10 because his carrier gave it to him for free.
mhm.
Can't fault him on that one. But but
I mean, for
I was
most
like, yeah,
people, they can't tell the difference between the screen. They couldn't care less. The camera is the same camera, or roughly the same camera that was on the flagship of the year before, the iPhone 11.
yep.
Can't go wrong with that. It has the same power, the same brain and processor as the iPhone 11 of the previous year. I mean, what?
Yeah, it's only $400 too for someone who wants calling, texting, and basic smartphone functionalities like
Mhm.
GPS and web browsing. That's
No,
great.
it's
And a
no
basic
brainer.
camera. That's perfect for someone like that.
Dude, even the iPhone 11 at the same bar as the new iPhone 12.
Oh yeah,
The gains,
100%.
the processor gains and the camera gains and the battery gains have been minimal. The iPhone
The big
11
thing is the
is,
screen.
uh,
The
yeah,
screen is
but
different between the 11 and the 12. The 12 has the OLED screen.
but that goes back to my original statement. Will anybody know? I mean, look at the 10R. My mom has a 10R. It has a 720p screen. Would you ever guess that with as
No,
smooth as
no.
Apple makes everything?
I mean, my sister's got the 10R, and you wouldn't know. It's
You
great. We have a whole assortment of phones. My dad has the 7. I have the 11 Pro. My mom's got a 10s, and my sister has an XR.
hmm
So we get a whole assortment of phones. And I tell you, for each person, we all have different uses. I'm such kind of a power user with my phone. My sister, all social media, calling, texting, and stuff. And my parents just doing work. My dad does the least, and he loves his 7. He says, I'm not going to upgrade it until it dies.
hmm
I was like, well,
And
all he does is call and text.
and that's perfectly fine because you can
Perfect.
buy that what is it, 399 iPhone SE
Hmm.
second gen. That phone's gonna last you
Oh yeah,
5, 6, 7 years maybe.
100%. Yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
if you are someone who makes calls, texts, maybe surfs the web occasionally, why spend any more?
Why do it? Yeah, no, exactly. It's the perfect value option, I think, for someone
Mhm.
who's looking to just get into the Apple ecosystem, but they don't want anything fancy. They don't care about specs or anything. They just
Yeah,
want something that's going to work and last them.
yeah.
Um, but
But
yeah,
that's the iPhone,
that's the iPhone.
or the
Um,
iPhones, as I
all the
should say.
iPhones, many iPhones. We have a lot of them. iPhone.
Um,
So
so,
next thing, movie theaters. I think this is a big
ooh,
thing. It's a kind of controversial thing. Are
oh,
they dead? Will they survive after this pandemic, or has streaming really changed things?
I,
I
I
don't know. What are
wouldn't, I
your
wouldn't,
thoughts?
I wouldn't say just streaming. I would say home media
Home
equipment.
media in general, yeah.
I just got done setting up a brand new 50 or 60 some inch TLC 4K HDR Dolby Vision TV. It is stunning.
I'm sure.
Absolutely stunning. And in addition to that, for $200 or between for around $200 to $500, you can go pick up yourself a soundbar. You can create yourself a home theater in your house. Then you have streaming services like Disney Plus, where you can watch all their shows for $7.99. All those shows and movies can be watched in 4K.
And they're
What?
starting now, and companies now, especially with COVID, are starting releasing things directly to their streaming services for a charge. Universal did it with their sequel, Trolls World Tour, which is a sequel to Trolls. They released it for $19.99. You could rent it, I think, for 24 hours, and you could watch it. Think of that. How much is a family of four going to spend on average going to the movie theater? They're going to spend on average probably $25 a ticket.
Not to mention concessions on your way in.
Exactly. So you're spending over $100 to go to a movie when you can pay $19.99, and as many cram into your living room can watch that movie.
And I think for $1,000 comfortably, for $1,000 you can make your home theater.
I think that's a no-brainer. You can go for that price. You can go either way. You can go TV, or if you're more inclined, you like the theater experience, you got the space. For $1,000, you can get it'll work set up for a home theater, projector, screen, and everything. For about $1,500, you can get an okay setup. If you want to really do things, you can spend. It's one of those things that you can constantly keep upgrade. I would personally go the projector route, because it's one of those things you can constantly keep upgrading. You can keep improving as you want to, and you can spend as much money to make it as good as you want, or as little money to make it.
Honestly, I would go with the TV. You mount the TV on the wall, and you're done. You don't have to worry about angling the projector or a projector screen and the hassle of having a whole bunch of extra stuff.
Yeah. No, and I mean that's I think what the majority of people will go for is just buying a nice big TV, spending money on a TV, and there you go. Because in the long run, you're gonna save all this money by not having to go to the theaters, because you got it right in your home.
You're already paying for the streaming services.
Exactly.
You already have the movie catalog.
You already have it. I think it's a perfect thing. And I think that's going to really hurt movie theaters. And I think they're going to have to really sell the experience. Now, there is something to be said.
And another
there
thing
is something to be said for going to the theater, though. There is an experience there.
But another thing, too, at home, you can pause the movie and go get snacks from your kitchen.
Yeah, you can go to the bathroom.
Got from the dollar store, pause it and go to the bathroom, pause it and discuss, or
you can make dinner while you can make dinner. We would do this all the time. Make dinner, go downstairs, watch a movie while eating dinner or something. Go get ice cream and all these things you can't do in a movie theater.
Pause but there's watch half and half.
There's something to be said for, I think, the experience of going to a movie theater, and that's something that you can't replace. I remember going to see Avengers Endgame, and we saw it opening night. And that was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had in a movie theater. You're sitting there, and as things are happening, I think most people have seen it by now, so I'm going to spoil it. But as you know, in the end, you get all the Avengers on screen, and Captain America goes, "Avengers Assemble," and everyone the whole theater just erupted, and everyone was cheering, and it was like you're experiencing this for the first time with hundreds of other people too. And I think that was just something that was truly amazing, and something that you'll never be able to get in your home. You can get 20 of your closest friends, but it's still not the same energy of being in a theater with 250 other people. And I think that's something that you can't replace. So it'll be interesting to see how theaters adapt to this. Maybe you'll only see big blockbuster hits. I don't know. It'll be interesting though.
So another thing too, not only for the movie theaters to reconsider, but if movie theaters do continue on this declining path, what will movie studios do who rely on those box office numbers to show how good their film is and how much money they made off of it, say an opening night.
Exactly.
They're gonna have to find another way to generate numbers like that to make themselves seem like they
Well,
had a lot of viewers and a lot of people went to go watch it. And how do you do that over a streaming service,
I
if
think
anything?
if they're not opening, if they're not putting it in the theaters, then it's just going to be how many people rented it the night that it dropped on the streaming service. You know what I mean? It's going to say, all right, Disney will say we're releasing this movie at midnight, and you're going to see everyone clicking that refresh page in order to rent that movie and watch it at midnight. And then I think that's what it'll be. It'll say how many people rented this movie within the first 24 hours, but that still doesn't give you an accurate picture of how many people actually watch the movie. You know, my family pays $19.99 for a movie that technically that's one person who bought the movie, that's four people watching the movie. I think that's also where movie studios are going to suffer is I think they're going to have to up that price more
Can't
because
they?
of the fact I don't know. I don't think they can. I don't
Can they?
think people
Because
are going to be
look
willing.
at
People
Disney's
aren't going to be
release of
willing to
Mulan.
spend $100 just to watch a
Disney's
movie.
release of Mulan was $30 in
Oh,
addition to paying your monthly subscription to Disney Plus.
which
A lot of people didn't like that.
I wonder if that's where the monthly subscription. That's where that's going to subsidize that other cost. $30 to me is a fair price for one person. I think that's a little steep, but as soon as you add a second person in there,
Hmm.
that's about what you're going to pay if you went to the theaters and you both bought a ticket. You could split the price. That's $15 a piece. That's even cheaper than going to the theater, depending
Yeah.
on where you
Yep.
live. So I think $30. I think even $40 is a fair price. I think anything higher than that, you're going to see people struggle to justify that. And I think movie theaters are also going to have an issue, and movie studios are going to have an issue in that you're going to have these crowds of people that are going to be able to watch this movie for one price, whereas, you know, your family four is going to watch it for $30, whereas normally you'd be getting $100 out of them, over $100 by them each having to buy a ticket individually. But I don't see movie studios doing it just from a financial standpoint. But I don't know. I think it's going to be one or the other. I don't think they'll do both though.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting to like because you see movies like who was I saw it listed here, MGM, and their
Yeah.
latest James Bond movie. They
Mhm.
held that back to what, May of next year because
Oh
they
yeah.
want that box office release.
Mhm.
So
I think Marvel did it too with the Black Widow movie. That one's been delayed also.
really, yeah.
Yeah, I think that one's been delayed. So
So yeah,
it's gonna be
and Black
interesting.
Widow has the power of Disney's Disney Plus streaming service if they
Exactly.
wanted to go
But I think
some
they
Mulan
know.
route.
But they know, I think, that they're gonna make more money by releasing it in theaters rather than on the service. If they release it for $40, you know you're gonna get people who are gonna cram 25 people into a house in
Hmm.
order to watch that movie. Now imagine if each one of those 25 people was paying $25 a ticket.
Yeah,
How much money that movie studio is making.
yeah,
So
because they're gonna need to find another way to make millions and cover the cost
exactly.
of making these movies.
So I think it's good for the consumer. I think for the movie studio is bad, and I don't see it lasting past COVID. I see it being a COVID solution or maybe a case by case solution. Maybe you'll see more minor releases being released onto streaming services for a small fee, and the major blockbusters will be released in theaters. I think that's what you'll start to see, maybe.
Yeah, yeah,
But we'll
it's
see.
gonna be interesting to see how this market evolves
It'll be
after
really
pandemic.
interesting. And I think it is going to evolve, especially because I think at the rate we're going, most people aren't going to be sitting in a movie theater packed full until 2022.
At least,
So
at
I'm
least.
wondering what theaters are going to do, especially around here up north in the wintertime. You can't have outdoor showings. Some of them were setting up outdoor showings in their parking lots and
Hmm.
drive-ins, but you can't do that in the wintertime.
No,
So
no, it's not practical up there.
no, it's not. So it'll be interesting to see what it's going to be interesting to see how the movie industry changes.
Hmm. It's gonna have to adapt from this. Um,
100%. This
'Cause-
one and a lot of industries, but the movie industry is going to have to
Yeah.
really adapt to this, and maybe there will be a demand, and movie studios are going to be like, you know what, we're losing more money going into the theaters. It's going to be easier to take that hit. It's going to be less of a hit if we release directly to streaming services than if we go to the theaters, because it costs them a lot of money to go to the theaters.
And not only that, you have theaters um, being pressured into movie studios, like what Disney did when one of the new Star Wars
Yeah.
movies were released.
Mm-hmm.
They required theaters to play the movie for a certain amount of time,
Yeah.
or not play it at all.
What you'll also see is movie studios saying, all right, we'll give you Star Wars, but we also want you to show this movie too.
Hmm.
So they're having to show a movie that no one really wants to see in order for them to get the movie that everyone wants to see. So you're kind of factoring that in there. It's gonna be a battle, I think, between the movie studios and the movie theaters, because the movie theaters, I don't think people realize this, but profit margins on movie theaters are extremely tight.
Oh yeah.
They're extremely tight, which is why you see prices so high for concessions and tickets and stuff, because these movie studios nickel and dime them for everything.
Oh, without a doubt.
It's insane because they have
And,
the power,
and
especially the
also
big studios.
in their defense too, I mean, the movie theaters have to cover the cost of the movie you're going to go watch, in addition to at least partly funding their next.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a constant battle of where are both of these industries and these markets going to make money from
Exactly.
and
And I
able
think
to be able to survive.
exactly. And yeah, it'll be interesting. If movie theaters shut down, obviously, the studios have no choice but to go to the streaming services.
Mhm.
If studios say we're going to go to the streaming services and deal with the infrastructure we already have, then movie theaters ultimately are going to have to shut down.
Mhm.
There's going to be not enough demand for them to stay open.
Well, another thing I've seen too is movie theaters consolidating. I
Yeah,
mean, the AMC, uh, huge line of movie theaters
yeah.
throughout the U.S., just purchased a couple years ago at least, purchased one of my local um, theater branches.
Well, they're looking to go
Carmike.
bankrupt too. They're $4.9 billion in debt.
Yeah, AMC
So,
is?
yeah, AMC's $4.9 billion in debt as of April 22nd and expected to declare bankruptcy.
Yeah.
So,
And they're probably the largest theater chain in the
I
U.S.
think they are. They're everywhere. AMC is everywhere. They're not just local. Yeah, they're everywhere.
And and then if that's the case, will that pressure movie studios to maybe relax a bit? Because they see their only way of releasing new content is
Hmm.
currently hanging on by a thread.
The way where they're going to make the most money is hanging on by a thread, I think. Yeah, and that might force them to relax. How aggressive they are.
Hmm.
They're so aggressive that they're killing the people that are feeding the money.
Hmm.
But like I said, at the same time, maybe they take a less of a hit going directly to streaming services than by continuing in the theaters.
And
You
hey,
know,
everybody's got shareholders to report to at the end of the day.
everyone's got shareholders at the end of the day.
Everybody's got to show a profit.
Everyone's gonna show a profit, so it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in that industry.
Yeah.
That's a quickly changing industry right now, I think.
Hmm.
So yeah, but I think that's everything that we wanted to cover.
Yeah. To give you a preview of what's coming this week, on Friday, you will be getting a post about how to take advantage of the dock on Mac OS. This is your quick access location. It's always there for you when you need to open an app, and taking advantage of it can really speed up the way you use your computer and give your computer a more of a personality that reflects you, right? I love my dock. Um,
I love
it's
it too.
something I
I
cherish.
hide mine, but I love it.
Oh, I hide mine too, but it's
Yeah.
still something I cherish, and I love to organize it to how it fits me best.
I got the
Um,
spacers and stuff in there. I got everything. I love it.
yeah, it's so stay tuned for that. That'll be a lot of fun. But anyways, yeah, that was episode 1 of the Apple Guide Talks podcast. Hope you enjoyed. You can also check out our YouTube channel, Apple Guide Web. Follow Apple Guide Web on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Check out our website for more content and to get some more notes and some of the sources that we used for this podcast. You can find all that stuff on our website, appleguideweb.com. And I think that's it. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
listening. And we will be back next Monday, hopefully.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for listening.